guys, and welcome to this week's webinar. So we're going a little bit nutritional again, and I just want to refer back to protein and why more than likely on most weeks of your check-ins you'll all hear me saying, you know, bring that average up, let's get more protein in, more protein in, more protein in. Now the absolute bare minimum I want you all to be hitting is at least 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. So for me that would be 66, 65 a day. Now that is bare minimum, like that's NHS nutritional guidelines. Realistically, you can take that anywhere between 1.2 and 1.7 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, especially if you're training regularly, which you all are because you're all following training programs. So my protein, for example, I normally try and sit between 100 and 120 grams per day at the very, very least, okay? And here is a snapshot as to why. Okay, so I'm going to keep it quite short and snappy, and what I want you to do is listen to what obviously comes through on this webinar, and then look at your protein and think, where can I start adding some more in? And obviously starting with the highest quality, most natural kind of resources of protein possible, whether that's kind of meats, dairies, pulses, things like that, meat substitutes, tofu, corn, whatever it is that you're using. And then from there, maybe looking at things like protein enhanced yogurts, natural yogurts, which have it anyway, protein bars, protein powders, all absolutely fine, in moderation within a calorie controlled diet, which you all are following. So protein, why is it the be all and end all? Well, first and foremost, it has the highest thermic effect of food. What that means is if I was to eat 10 grams of protein, 10 grams of carbs, 10 grams of fats, obviously we know they all have different calorie makeup, but for this argument, I'm eating 10 grams of each. What's going to happen is protein has to be broken down by our digestive system, and it takes a lot more work for our body to break it down in order to break apart, get those amino acids that are within the protein circulating around the body. So in order to do that, we require more calories in terms of the digestive process than we do with fats and carbs. So not only is protein going to help with so many other things that we're going to come to, whilst it's helping with all of that, it's actually spending a few more calories to break it down once we've ingested it than either fats or carbs will, okay? So it's in your corner in terms of getting that calorie expenditure just to creep up a little bit. Now it's not hundreds, please don't get excited with it, but it is certainly a benefit. Satiating, I have no idea if I spelled that right, I should have checked. It's satiating, okay? It keeps us fuller for longer, which is absolutely crucial, especially if we're going through a fat loss phase, okay? So we're looking to drop body fat, we're monitoring our calories, we're keeping them at a point that keeps us in this calorie deficit. We still want to be able to feel full and get that sense of fullness, okay? Now don't get me wrong, when dieting there is an element of hunger that you maybe have to kind of have that back and forth kind of playground game with, but we want to stack the odds in our favour as much as possible. So the higher we keep our protein, generally speaking, the more satiating, or that feeling of feeling fuller for longer hangs around that little bit more, okay? Which, as I said, in a fat loss phase is absolutely crucial because we want to be still experiencing that full feeling, enjoying meals and not necessarily feeling hungry all the time, okay? So it's going to keep us fuller for longer. It's going to spend more calories digesting it for us, okay? It also contains essential amino acids. By essential, they are things that our body does not make. We have to bring them in through our diet, okay? There is 11 essential amino acids. There might be 13, I need to double check that. One of which, the main one, is leucine. And with our essential amino acids, what we're looking to do, as I said, they're not made by our body, okay? We have to bring them in externally. So we have to bring them in from our diet. And they come from protein sources. You'll hear me potentially refer to complete and incomplete protein sources. Generally speaking, all complete protein sources are animal-based products, okay? So they will contain within that one product, within that chicken breast, for example, all of the essential amino acids. Incomplete proteins may come from plant-based sources. Now they may have 8 of the 11, which is where pairing things like butter beans and kidney beans, hummus, peanut butter, baked beans and broad beans, different beans and things like that, you can then get the full spectrum, because some beans have got 6 here, the other beans will have the other 6. You put them together, you can create a full amino acid profile, okay? So you can have a play even with your plants in your diet. And that's where I say, if you're struggling protein-wise and you feel like you've got meat or you've got an obvious source of protein in every meal, let's start looking at the unobvious sources, or less obvious, shall I say. Looking at the natural yogurts, looking at things like beans, lentils, pulses, things like that. So we're getting a bit of carb and a bit of protein, mixing them up, creating different profiles, okay? So when it comes to protein, essential amino acids are exactly that. They're essential, they're key for recovery, they're key for supporting our muscles. We can only get them from sources of protein, and it's easier to get them from complete sources of protein. Not impossible from incomplete by a long stretch, but just slightly more straightforward. Retaining muscle mass. We at the moment are all training. We're all on a progressively overloaded program, okay? And that is either to retain muscle mass or build on existing muscle mass. Even in a dieting phase, both are doable depending on your training background. Protein and the essential amino acids that are contained within it is going to help grow muscle mass, protect the muscle mass from being targeted in terms of creating energy. It's going to help that muscle mass recover as well, okay? So making sure that the hard work that we're putting in our training to create this shape, to create this tone to our muscles and our body, we're doing that hard work and we're keeping that hard work by allowing the muscles to recover and be retained by feeding them the protein, the amino acids that they need. Now, just to touch on the kidneys quickly, it did come up in research a fair few years ago that there was a potential risk to your kidneys from eating a high protein diet. That has since been squashed for the majority of the public that do not have an underlying kidney disease or issues with their kidneys, okay? Which, as far as I'm aware, none of you guys do. So in terms of the protein world, people will go up and above, or up and beyond 2 to 2.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, okay? So take a look at where you are now. You're at the moderate to low introducing protein into your diet for the most part, for most of you, okay? We've got room to keep pushing it up depending on how we're splitting our calories, okay? And there is literally no risk to your kidneys. As I said, that has been squashed for 99.9% of the public who are looking to eat a more calorie controlled and higher protein diet because of all of the wins that we get with eating a high protein diet. Just bearing in mind that if you already have a predisposition to kidney issues, that would be the only time to look at how much protein is in your diet. But even still then, you can still look to consume protein. You just perhaps wouldn't push it quite as high. So, as I said, protein, I'm going to keep banging on about it every single week because it's in your corner for keeping you fuller for longer. It's in your corner for a little bit of an extra calorie burn. And for me, the key, it's in your corner for recovery and retaining those muscles and that muscle mass that we're working hard to build the shape, to build you stronger, fitter, and obviously happier and healthier too.